To be completely honest with you, I see a lot of myself in Peter. He's impulsive, much like I am. The kind of guy who says it, does it, and would rather ask for forgiveness than permission. Peter's highs are really high, and his lows, well, they're really low. But isn't that what makes him so relatable? Jesus once called him to follow. And let's take a closer look at how that moment unfolded. In Luke 5 verses 4 to 6, Jesus says to Simon, "Put out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch." But Peter, as honest as he is, responds, "Master, we toiled all night and took nothing. But at your word, I'll let down the nets." And then something extraordinary happens. They cast the nets, and they catch so many fish that the nets begin to break. Jesus then tells them, "From now on, you will be fishers of men." Peter wasn't convinced at first, but Jesus had a way of turning our doubts into breakthroughs. This wasn't just about fishing. It was about following a call. Fast forward a bit, and we find Peter standing strong in front of Jesus. He promises, "Though they all fall away, I will never." But as we know, Peter's promises were tested. When Jesus is arrested, Peter denies him 3 times, as foretold. After that third denial, the rooster crowed, and Peter and Jesus made eye contact across the courtyard. In that moment, Peter remembers what he promised Jesus, and he runs away, weeping bitterly. It's a gut-wrenching moment. Peter had failed Jesus. He had denied him when the pressure was on. But here's where things get good. Do you remember what happens next? After Jesus is raised, Peter is out fishing with the others. Then a voice calls out, "Children, do you have any fish?" They answer, "No." Jesus tells them to cast the net on the right side. When they do, the nets fill to the brim. Peter hears it, and without hesitation, he throws himself into the sea. Peter had seen this miracle before. The same miracle that first called him was now the miracle that called him back. The same Jesus who watched Peter deny him now calls him again. Peter was never too far gone for Jesus' grace. When Peter reaches the shore, Jesus asks him 3 times, "Peter, do you love me?" 3 denials, 3 questions. Jesus restores Peter with love. Jesus' grace is greater than our failures. Where failure says, "Shame on you," Jesus says, "Shame off you." God's grace calls us back, even when we feel like we've failed too much. Peter's failure wasn't the end of his story. Failure does not define us. Jesus does. When we mess up, God calls us to remember his faithfulness, not our mistakes. Peter's story wasn't over, and neither is yours. You are always just one obedient castaway from Jesus' grace calling you back. So, how do we move forward? Let's remember that God's love never fails. Even in our lowest moments, he is there. No matter how many times we fall, Jesus will always call us back. He never fails to restore us. If this message touched your heart, like, subscribe, and share. Remember, no matter the failure, Jesus' grace is there. Keep moving forward.